Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into a question that's been generating a lot of buzz lately. Is Elon Musk a fascist?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, isn't it?
It is. And we're going to try to unpack it by looking at both sides of the argument, exploring the evidence, the different perspectives, and hopefully giving you enough information to form your own conclusions. To start, let's rewind a bit and look at Elon Musk's journey. How did he go from a kid who was bullied in South Africa to this, tech titan we know today?
Well, his story is definitely a captivating one, right? From a young age, he was clearly brilliant, selling his first video game at 12 years old. That kind of ambition speaks for itself, but I think it's important to acknowledge that his rise to the top wasn't all smooth sailing. His leadership style is often described as, relentless, even abrasive, and you can see that reflected in his companies Zip2, PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, each one pushing boundaries, demanding incredible commitment from everyone involved.
Yeah, I read about his, intense work ethic and the pressure he puts on his employees, but it's clearly produced some remarkable results.
Absolutely. But it's come at a cost. There are documented instances of Musk struggling with periods of calm, almost like he needs constant challenge and disruption to thrive, and that inherent restlessness might be a factor in some of his more controversial moves and statements.
It makes you wonder if that addiction to risk and intensity, as one biographer called it, is a prerequisite for disrupting entire industries, or maybe a red flag. One of Musk's most impactful and controversial decisions was buying Twitter. He said he did it to promote free speech, counter what he saw as a left-wing bias, and fight government censorship.
Where he presented it as this noble quest to safeguard free speech, which is, of course, fundamental to democracy. But honestly, his actions since then have made some people question how genuine those motives really were.
So you're saying there's a discrepancy between what he said and what he's actually done?
There are some inconsistencies that are hard to ignore. For example, he reinstated accounts like Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene figures known for spreading misinformation and inciting violence.
And those are pretty polarizing figures, to say the least.
Exactly. But then on the flip side, he's also censored Substack links and even banned journalists who criticized him, although some of them were later reinstated.
It's almost like he's cherry-picking which voices get amplified and which gets silenced.
And that kind of selective approach to content moderation clashes with his supposed commitment to free speech. It raises the question, is he applying consistent principles, or are his decisions driven by personal bias?
It's definitely a question worth pondering, and one that a lot of people are struggling with. Speaking of actions that have sparked controversy, let's talk about the Nazi salute incident at Trump's inauguration. During the event, Musk was seen making a gesture arm, extended hand flat, with a chest-pounding motion that some interpreted as a Nazi salute.
Oh yeah, that definitely caused a stir.
This gesture and its resemblance to historical imagery drew very strong and divided reactions from people.
It became a flashpoint in the debate about Musk's ideology and whether he harbors fascist sympathies. While some dismissed it as harmless enthusiasm, maybe even attributing it to his autism, others saw it as a deliberate signal of alignment with fascist ideas. But I think to understand the full weight of this incident, we can't just look at it in isolation. We have to consider it alongside his other statements and actions, his engagement with right-wing figures, his online expressions of agreement with some neo-Nazi sentiments, and his promotion of theories like eugenics and the Great Replacement.
You're saying this incident becomes more concerning when viewed within a larger pattern of behavior.
Exactly. It adds another layer to the puzzle and raises questions about whether there's a deeper ideological trend at play. I think the Nazi salute incident, no matter what the intention was behind it, leads us to a really important part of this whole discussion. Elon Musk's political affiliations. He often calls himself a moderate, but his actions and who he hangs out with paint a much more complicated picture.
Yeah, there does seem to be a disconnect between that moderate label and some of his very public endorsements and alliances.
Right. So let's start with his relationship with Donald Trump. Remember, Musk was on Trump's Business Advisory Council early in his presidency. He even defended Trump multiple times, kind of downplaying the criticisms and pushing back against the negative perception surrounding him. This connection with Trump, even if it was short-lived, raises some eyebrows, especially considering the accusations that Trump himself was promoting fascist ideologies through his rhetoric.
It's true. There are definite parallels between some of the themes that came up in Trump's messaging and the hallmarks of fascism, like nationalism, authoritarianism, and xenophobia.
And it goes beyond Trump. Musk has expressed admiration for other right-wing figures like Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Orban has been criticized a lot internationally for his policies, cracking down on independent media, going after the judiciary, demonizing immigrants. These are all actions that have raised serious concerns. So Musk's apparent endorsement of a leader like Orban is definitely troubling.
So we're seeing a pattern emerge here, a tendency to align with figures who favor strongman tactics and often operate outside the norms of democratic principles.
Exactly. And then there's the whole thing with Musk and the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD. This is a far-right party in Germany known for its anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, and nationalist views. They met with Musk, and reports suggest that he expressed support for some of their policies. This engagement with such a controversial party adds fuel to the fire when it comes to concerns about Musk's own ideology.
It's hard to reconcile these actions with the image of a moderate, especially when you consider the AfD stance on issues like immigration and nationalism. These are often central to right-wing populist movements.
Right, and on top of all that, we have to talk about Musk's own statements that align with fascist thought, particularly his promotion of eugenics. This idea, selective breeding to improve the human race, it has a really dark history closely tied to the Nazis and their atrocities. It's a dangerous ideology that tries to categorize people as superior or inferior based on completely arbitrary criteria.
Musk's embrace of these kinds of ideas is definitely worrying. You have to wonder if he fully understands the implications and the potential consequences of promoting these theories.
And his promotion of the Great Replacement theory further complicates the picture. This conspiracy theory claims that white populations are being intentionally replaced by non-white immigrants. It's a central belief in white supremacist ideology, and it's been used to justify violence against minority groups. So for Musk to engage with such a divisive concept is deeply disturbing.
So after looking at all of this evidence, where does it leave us in answering the question, is Elon Musk a fascist?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's a complex one without a simple yes or no answer. There's no hard proof that Musk officially belongs to any fascist organization, but his actions, his associations, and his embrace of certain ideologies do raise some serious red flags.
It seems like his behavior fits a pattern we often see with individuals who are drawn to authoritarianism, a dislike for established institutions, a fascination with strongman tactics, and a willingness to exploit divisions for personal gain.
And what's particularly alarming is how Musk uses his wealth and his influence to amplify these potentially harmful ideologies. His control over Twitter gives him this massive platform to spread these ideas to a global audience. That could have real-world consequences. It could embolden far-right movements and normalize extremist viewpoints, contributing to a climate of fear and division.
It sounds like he's playing a dangerous game and one that we need to be very aware of.
In the last part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the bigger implications of Musk's behavior and the dangers of unchecked power in this digital age.
Well, we spent this deep dive really trying to get to know Elon Musk, examining his actions, his words, and trying to figure out if that label of fascist really sticks. It's been a fascinating journey that's taken us from his early days as an entrepreneur to some pretty unsettling aspects of his personality and his ideology. And as we wrap things up, I think it's important to zoom out a bit and think about the wider implications of what we've uncovered.
I think that's a great point. This whole deep dive into Elon Musk brings to light a really pressing issue that we're facing right now, the immense power that tech billionaires have and how little accountability there is. I mean, think about it. The decisions these people make, the algorithms they control, the stories they shape, they have such a huge impact on our lives, on our societies, even on our democracies. And sometimes it feels like there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, it's like we've stumbled into this new age of digital feudalism with these tech giants ruling over these vast online empires. So given this reality, what can we do as individuals to protect ourselves? How can we guard against the spread of these dangerous ideologies and all the manipulation that's happening online?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I think the first step is awareness. We have to understand how these platforms work, how they're designed to grab our attention and influence our thinking. We can't just passively scroll through our feeds and take everything at face value.
We have to be more critical of the information we're consuming.
Exactly. Question your sources. Look for different perspectives. Be wary of content that's designed to make you angry or scared. That's usually a sign that something's not quite right. And just as importantly, diversify where you get your information from. Don't let algorithms curate your entire worldview. Seek out alternative viewpoints. Engage with independent media. Support organizations that promote media literacy and critical thinking.
It sounds like reclaiming our agency in this digital world is key. We can't just be passive consumers. We need to be active participants, shaping the online landscape instead of letting it shape us.
I completely agree. And on a bigger scale, we have to demand more transparency and accountability from these tech giants. They need to be held responsible for the content that's shared on their platforms and for the algorithms that control what we see. We need stronger regulations to protect our privacy, to stop the spread of misinformation, and to make sure that these platforms are serving the public good, not just their own profits.
So to sum up our deep dive, the question of whether Elon Musk is a fascist is still open to interpretation. But there's no doubt that his actions have ignited a crucial conversation about the role of technology power and free speech in our world. This exploration has shown us the potential dangers of giving so much power to these tech billionaires, and how these platforms can be misused to spread really harmful ideologies. But this conversation is bigger than just one man. It's about all of us. It's about understanding the power of these technologies and our responsibility as users to be informed, to be discerning, and to be engaged. It's about taking action to make sure that these tools are being used to build a world that's more just and equitable. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity and encouraged you to keep exploring these complex issues and to participate in these vital conversations that are going to shape our digital future.